Welcome back to Grade 7 Math. This is lesson number 10.2, Measures of Central Tendency. Today's lesson is most likely a review of something you have learned in previous years. Do you remember what these words mean? We've got mean, median, and mode. Pause the video to consider what these words mean, and then you can resume it to see the answers on the following slides. Mean is another term for average. To find the mean or average of a list of numbers, we need to you guessed it, add up all of the numbers and divide by how many numbers are in the list. The median is the number that appears in the middle of a list of numbers. It is very important to put the numbers in order from smallest to greatest before we find the median. If there are two numbers in the middle, we have to just think about it for a minute. If there are two numbers in the middle, we have to add the two middle numbers and divide by 2. The mode is the number that appears most often in a list. True or false? There can be more than one mode. And the answer is true. True or false? There can be no mode. And the answer to that is true again. Altogether, the mean, median, and mode are known as the measures of central tendency. Let's try some examples. Calculate the mean, median, and mode for the following. Okay. So to calculate the mean, got all these numbers here. So of course that means we're going to have to add them. So it's taking me a little bit longer to write with my smartboard pen, and it would take you to calculate this on your own. So this is giving you plenty of lead time to go ahead and calculate this. And I mustn't forget, because this is along the lines of working with BEDMAS, I need to put brackets around this addition statement so that I know or I remember that I have to add everything first before I divide. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in my list. Okay, so 7 plus 9 is 16. 16 plus 9 is 25. Plus 7 is 36. 49. 65. And finally 84. 84. Divided by 7 equals 12. Okay, the median is the number that shows up in the middle. Because I've got an an odd number of numbers, 11 is clearly in the middle. So 11 is my median. And finally, for the mode, number that appears most often is 9. So there are my three measures of central tendency. I tend to like to do the mean first. That's the one that's the most time consuming. So I prefer to get that one out of the way first, and then the last two are much quicker. Okay, I'm going to leave one here for you to try on your own, and we'll go over this in class tomorrow. But something I want you to consider, what do we need to do with this list of numbers before we go calculating, let's say, the median? Something very important. So pause the video and work on this list. Okay, here's another list for you to try. Again, consider what you need to do with this list of numbers before you can start finding the median. Okay, and if you were able to survive getting through those last two, great job. And we'll certainly go over the answers in class tomorrow. Just before we wrap things up, though, let's consider the following. Which measure of central tendency do you think is the best way to describe a situation? Do you think that there are certain situations when one measure of central tendency would provide a better explanation than the others? So, I know in previous years in math class, you've probably done this quite a lot, where you've calculated mean, median, and mode. Um, and that's okay. But here in grade 7 and later in grade 8, we need to consider where we use certain things that we're learning in math. So we'll spend some time looking at different situations tomorrow, and we'll talk about whether it would be best to uh, describe the situation by finding the mean, or whether it would be better just to look at the data and say, oh, well, the median or the mode are actually more helpful in describing the situation. Okay, Hotshots, in closing, we will go over those two sample activities from the video before we work together on a selection of questions out of our textbooks. But for now, this concludes today's video.